Start and stream. Simone, you are live.
Good morning and welcome to diveLIVE's morning shot. I am Simone, your underwater biologist today. I have Rian on camera with me under the sea, and I have Lauren on top, ready to deliver all your questions. Now guys, it is World Ocean Day, one of the best days of the year. Why is it so good? Because it's a day we remember to appreciate the oceans. Now please remember to hashtag diveLIVE on Twitter and send in any questions that you have, as well as type on the YouTube stream. We'll be seeing all of your questions. And don't forget to check us on our diveLIVE Facebook as well.
Thank you, Simone. Happy World Oceans Day, everybody. It's the perfect day to do a dive. So, Simone, you want to tell us a little bit about how deep you are and where you are at the minute?
Certainly. So I am diving on the left-hand side of Casuarina Point. I am at 9 meters, nice and shallow today. And I am in 27 degrees water, about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So nice and warm. And there is lots of stuff floating in the water today. So there are lots of little jellyfish and a lot of food for all of the fish on the reef. So I think it's going to be an action-packed day.
Sounds like it is. So let's make a little dive plan. What are you hoping to see today, Simone?
Well, I actually am on the lookout for maybe some triggerfish.
Oh.
Because I feel like they'll be here today. There's actually a lot of sargassum, so that's kind of like floating seaweed around. And guess what likes to hitchhike on those?
Lots of things, in fact.
Lots of things. But most importantly, seahorses and little turtles. So maybe, if we're lucky.
Yes, we do even get the sargassum frogfish, which is a very, very small variation of the frogfish that can be found floating in those sargassum patches.
Well, I hope my eyes are good enough to spot these. But you guys should tell us what you want to see, and I can definitely keep my eyes out. Now, Rian, we have 2 squirrelfish here. You want to show everyone these. The reason I want to point them out is they're 2 different species. Still hanging in a little cave down there.
Let's have a look.
My species is the long spine squirrelfish.
Oh, yep. So right ahead of us, we have 2 different animals on the screen. We have a squirrelfish, which is the red fish with the big eye and that beautiful dorsal fin. And we have a lionfish hanging upside down there in the cave.
Is there a lionfish in there?
There is.
I didn't see that. I just saw the 2 squirrelfish.
So that's 2 different species in front of us right now. The lionfish isn't so visible, but we've got a really good view of that squirrelfish.
Well, we'll chat about the squirrelfish first, because luckily lionfish are very, very still animals. So at the front we have the long spine squirrelfish. You can imagine why it's called the long spine. And these guys are nocturnal animals. They like to come out at night. But they are fine during the day as well. They do come out during the day to feed. So that's why we're seeing him here. Now you can see how big his eyes are.
Yes, and I must say we're getting a really, really good view of these tiny, minuscule little shrimps that are floating about. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, so those are mysid shrimp. They like to hang out in the caves as well. And these squirrelfish... Sorry, just checking my cables here. These squirrelfish, like to hang out in these caves, but they actually are not as discreet as they may seem. They are some of the loudest fish on the reef. They make a lot of noise. Now, when you have a special hydrophone, you can actually hear their croaks. They kind of sound like a frog croaking. It's pretty wild to imagine a fish making a noise like that, isn't it?
It is. Fish are much more noisier than we give them credit for. I think a lot of people think the underwater realm is really quiet, and in fact it's not at all. Fish make a huge variety of noises.
And are you getting a view of that lionfish?
Not at the minute, but I'm sure there we are now. There's a little bit of sediment in the water. That's what all those little snowflake looking things are, but we've got a great view of that lionfish. It looks like an adult, It looks quite a big one.
Ah, cool. Well, I can't see him while our cameraman is doing some cool underwater yoga to give you that shot right now.
Yep, so we do speak about lionfish a lot, but they are an incredibly important species to talk about. And you can see this particular individual is really still, really calm, but it does have its spines facing towards us. And they are nocturnal animals, and that is normally how they rest. They've got such a great defense mechanism in these spines that look like feathers. Each contain venom. So if they put the spines facing outwards, then they're pretty rest assured that they are safe from predators.
Yeah, they're very comfortable on this reef. There is nothing that would really try and harm them.
Yeah.
So we've seen 3 fish in this little cave, guys. Is there something that you notice about all 3? Is there something very similar about all 3?
What is the third one? We saw squirrelfish and a lionfish.
There was another little red squirrelfish in there as well, but the similarity is that they are all red. So nocturnal animals benefit from being red because red is the first colour that you lose. So it's the first colour that you cannot see underwater. So these are pretty much camouflaged animals at nighttime.
That is an amazing fact. Yeah, and even the cave itself is red.
Yeah.
So Namaste is asking, are lionfish invasive species in the Caribbean? And yes, they are. They were never supposed to be here. They did come over from the Indo-Pacific range, and now they have just completely overpopulated the area, and they are an invasive species. They're an incredible predator, and they feed on the small reef fish around here. And one particular individual lionfish was operated on, and its stomach contained 50 different species of reef fish in its stomach.
That's insane.
Yeah, and they don't have any natural predators, so that's why they have done so much damage in the region.
Yeah, and they're clearly not picky eaters by any means.
No, they're not. They're not at all. And it was estimated that a lionfish can actually eat up to 80% of the small reef fish on any reef within 5 weeks. That's how much damage they can do.
That's crazy. Well, we'll leave these guys alone, and we'll keep perusing through the reefs. I hope that you guys can see all of the stuff that is floating past the camera at you right now. Oops, sorry.
We can. It looks like little pieces of snow.
I'm not sure. Brian has spotted something, I think.
Oh, he always does. And while you're looking, Richard has actually requested some mermaids. So, Richard, we have one on the screen right now, and her name is Simone.
Yes, I am an underwater mermaid. Now, I think Riri has spotted the trumpet fish.
Yes, we have a trumpet fish ahead.
There we go. And this trumpet fish is displaying some blue colourings on its face at the moment. He seems very calm and relaxed, which to me implies that he might be hunting for his morning breakfast.
Yes, most fish at this time of day, it is only 7 a.m. in Grand Cayman, are getting their breakfast.
And I hope you guys saw him actually just swimming backwards then, which is pretty impressive for any fish to do. They look a little bit silly in the water, but they are exceptionally agile.
They're really sleek hunters, and many fish don't see them coming. They very often camouflage themselves among gorgonians and different corals here, so lots of fish wouldn't see them hiding.
Yeah, he's definitely perusing the top of the reefs for a meal, so we might stick on him for a wee bit, just to see what he decides to jump on.
Yeah.
And he can open his mouth exceptionally wide. So, I mean, the reef is really just anything. He has free pickings up here.
Yes, and the mouth, that long snout, of course, is exactly how they get the name trumpet fish. It looks like a trumpet. So what size would you say this little trumpet fish is, Simone?
Probably about a foot long. But they can go up to 1 metre or 3 feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so on these reefs they are smaller, but when they get bigger they go deeper in search for bigger prey.
Well, Tom would like to know exactly how deep you are at the minute, seeing all these fish.
So I'm only at 9 meters, Tom Tom. Very quite shallow for some of the reefs that we have here.
Yeah, it's sometimes best to stay shallow. You see a huge variety of fish just in the shallows.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, there's so much algal growth in the shallows, so you can imagine how many herbivorous fish like to hang out up here.
Yeah, and Sinak is asking how this particular fish, the trumpet fish, feeds, Simone. Did you get that, Simone?
Sorry, what was that?
Sinak is asking how this particular fish, the trumpet fish, feeds.
How it feeds?
Yes.
So, well, what we're watching is probably the hunt. So, he will skulk the reefs looking for these smaller creatures. And when it is time to strike, he will coil himself like a spring and dart at the fish of his choosing. And he'll actually open his mouth so wide that it creates a vacuum, it creates suction like a vacuum, and he sucks his prey into his mouth and swallows it. They don't have very effective teeth, so they do swallow it whole.
And if you just take a look at it right now, it is trying to disguise itself among that Gorgonian coral.
Yeah, and you might notice it's changing its colours a little bit.
Yeah, we can still spot it, but he is trying to camouflage himself. That's amazing.
He's doing a very good job.
He is.
And you can see, you know, there's a little bit of current down here, but he's staying absolutely motionless. They are very good.
Oh, that's fantastic. So the Gorgonian coral is branched in a V shape, and that trumpet fish is just hanging in the middle trying to pretend that it's an extra branch.
Very sweet. And he actually has this barbel on his chin that has sensory organs, but he also uses this barbel.
Oh, we can see it.
Yeah, in a similar manner. So he will dangle it down and shake it. So if any fish, unsuspecting to them, will think that, oh, it's a little worm or something, and almost try and come and nibble it, and that is when he, pow, attacks. It's very smart. Maybe he's fooling, this little, long snout pufferfish? Oh, no.
Yeah, we got a great view of that little barbel right on the end of his chin, if you like.
Yeah, so he's going to waggle that and anything might fall for it.
He really believes that we can't see him, I think.
Yeah. It's like with cats, you know, they really believe that we can't see them when they're hiding in a box.
We have a lovely question from Jamie for you, Simone. What is your favourite thing to see when you are diving?
Oh, I love shrimp. Shrimp are my favourite thing to see. They are very, very cool animals. They're very curious, and they also have a lot of attitude. So I do hope to see a shrimp. Maybe we will continue the search, Rian. I'll head a little bit deeper. Maybe I can spot you a shrimp.
Yeah, I would love to see a shrimp. We know they're your favourite.
Has anyone told us what they want us to find?
Not yet. We do have a lot of interest back in that lionfish. That got a lot of people's attention. So maybe we can just answer some of those questions while you're looking for something else, Simone. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
So they are invasive species here and in the Caribbean region, and they were not present until the early 1990s. So before that, there was no lionfish here. You only found them in the Indo-Pacific. And now, off the coast of Florida, many reefs, you will find up to 1,000 lionfish per hectare. So they have completely overpopulated. And the reason being, like we mentioned earlier, they don't have any natural predators and they just eat everything. So really, they're thriving here. So those spines do contain venom, and you can actually be injured by the venom even after the fish is dead. It contains a neurotoxin.
Yeah, it is exceptionally painful. And the problem is that they are very curious animals, and they do like to approach divers just to see what the diver is doing. So you have to have very good buoyancy and make sure you keep your hands to yourself when you are in the presence of these lionfish.
Yes, exactly. You should never touch anything in the ocean, but particularly be careful around the lionfish. They're not aggressive. They will never actively try to harm you, but they do have so much venom in those spines.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we can't utilize the meat of the lionfish, so their meat is fine for consumption. Just got to be careful not to accidentally take a nibble on one of those spines.
Exactly. So we do have some requests.
Oh yeah, let's hear them.
A turtle, of course. A crab. So I think you would like that one, Simone.
Yeah, I am searching for some small stuff.
And a porcupine fish.
Oh, okie dokie. Those are achievable. You know, some people are like, I want to see a huge shark, and it makes it a little bit hard.
Rico's actually asking to see some cool nudibranchs, and yes, I think we would all love to see some nudibranchs. We haven't seen many during our time here, but we would love to.
Yeah, they're not too common here, unfortunately. But what we do have up ahead is a huge aggregation of Creole wrasse.
Yes, we can see them, getting a great view, and some black durgans in there. So the Creole wrasse are the really small, bright blue ones with the forked tail, and the bigger ones that are swimming in a slightly different way are the black durgans, part of the triggerfish family.
Yeah, and if we actually come down here, it looks like these Creole wrasse are stopping to get cleaned. Ria, just over here. Oh, never mind. They were getting a bit of a clean. It is feeding and bath time in the morning.
Wow, there's so many fish, Simone.
Yeah, it's crazy. I would say there's probably like 1,000 fish, I promise you, up here. A mixture of these Creole wrasse and black durgans that we see, but also a couple of snappers. So there's obviously lots of delicious food in the water for them.
Yeah, they're most likely plucking out bits of plankton that are hanging in the water column. Now, Virginia has actually asked about a blue tang, so if we do see any schools of blue tangs, let's point them out. And she's asking, are there any yellow tangs? And that's a really interesting question because the juvenile phase, so the younger blue tangs, when they're just babies, are actually bright yellow. So they have the same body shape and they're the exact same species, but they have different color phases. So as they get older, they change from bright yellow into the blue tang.
We just wanted some scrolled filefish up ahead. So we're going to go and try and get them into shot for you so you guys can see some of Lauren's favourite fish.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and the blue tangs that we do see on this reef, they often school together. And it's pretty magnificent when they all come together to chomp on anything on the reef.
We got a great view. It's just swimming off there. Is that the scribbled filefish?
Yes, it looks like it. Yes, it certainly is.
Oh, sorry, I mean scrawled. They have different names in different parts of the world. So same meaning, but this is a scrawled filefish.
Yeah, so he has very bright blue markings on him.
Looks like someone has just scribbled with a highlighter all across his body.
And they're very, very unusual but effective swimmers. They use their dorsal and ventral fins to swim and don't really use their pectoral or side fins very much.
Very similar to the triggerfish, and they're very closely related to the triggerfish. And this particular species, the scrawled filefish, is actually the largest in the filefish family. They can grow up to 1 meter, which is about 3 foot. But we rarely see them that size here. Normally we see them between 40 to 60 centimeters.
Yeah, and especially at this depth on the reef, they definitely don't get that big. But like I said, when you go deeper, things get bigger. So when we do go, to 20, 30 meters, we do hope to see these really large specimens.
And we have a request for a close-up of a triggerfish, so if we can get any close-up shots of those black durgans or any other triggerfish, that would be great.
I'll try my best. Now let's keep up high. Maybe we'll check out these crevices up ahead.
So the visibility looks a bit poor today, Simone, is that right?
Yeah, there is so much in the water here at the moment. I mean, that's why there are so many Creole wrasse and everything around, but unfortunately it does mean the visibility is dropping or is quite low. But But it means there's lots of food for the fish, which means they're very, very happy.
Yeah, and
that makes me happy.
What Simone means by visibility is just how far ahead she can see. So we can see it looks a bit cloudy today. It looks a bit foggy, if you like. And that is, just as she mentioned, all the maybe sediment and plankton floating in the water, which reduces the visibility for us. But we're not complaining because it's a great food source for all the fish.
Yeah, it definitely is. And there are some jellyfish in the water as well, so I suppose we do need to be careful. Make sure we don't get stung. I like to refer to them as the underwater mosquitoes, because they are quite annoying. They don't give you a very harsh sting here, which is very fortunate. But it's a little bit annoying to get zapped.
So Marcy's just asking for the water temperature. So you said 27 degrees Celsius, Simone, is that correct?
Yeah, so I think about 80 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so it's pretty usual for it to be between 27 and 28 here, degrees Celsius, which is about 80 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, it's very warm. That's why I'm just wearing a nice short wetsuit. I get to enjoy the warmth of the ocean.
It is a beautiful wetsuit.
It is Laura's wetsuit that I borrowed. It's my favorite.
And we have another request for some urchins. So a huge variety of things that we hope to see. So urchins are normally in the crevices, or they're wedged in between the rocks, or a little bit more difficult for us to find. But Simone's got eagle eyes, so I'm sure she can look out for one for you.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you guys noticed, we've come even shallower now, and we're at about 6. Oh, I've got an urchin over here, mate. Real? Just here, mate. Yeah, guys, so we've come here shallower, hopefully to show you the beautiful colours of the reef, as well as, I think a lot of fish will happily come shallower today because of all the plankton.
So what is it you're showing us, Simone?
This is also urchin territory.
Oh.
Because of all the algae.
Yeah, so if you just see all those spines moving there, that is the spines of an urchin. So it's a little bit too dark to see the body, but we can really see those spines moving.
Yeah, they are the master of fitting into crevices. But at night they'll come out and they'll be walking all along the reef, chomping away. And they can walk quite quickly, much faster than you'd think. They don't have feet like us, they actually have like tube feet that they fill with water to help them roll along the reef.
So Marco, there's your sea urchin. Urchins are echinoderms, so they're actually in the same family as starfish or sea stars, and even sea cucumbers. So they have a hard body, which is globular, and we call that...
Turtle over there! Yay! Sorry. Holy moly, she's huge!
I'm actually dancing right now. Oh, yay!
Sorry to interrupt you, Lauren.
No, I'm more than happy to be interrupted for that.
Now this turtle is definitely going to be very happy about all the yummy food particles floating by.
Yeah.
Now I think it's just going up with some air, so we'll just let it chill out for a hot minute.
It's a little bit out of focus right now, but it looks from here to be quite a big hawksbill turtle.
It's very large indeed.
Oh, we just saw it take a big bite of something.
Yeah, oh, I'm glad you can see. Now it will come down, guys, so then hopefully we can... Oh, it's eating a jelly.
Yeah, jellyfish are actually most turtles' favourite snacks. So hawksbills generally feed on sponges, but they do love an odd snack like we all, and it happens to be the jellyfish that is their favourite.
Ah, it's very sweet. Now hopefully we can get close. We'll just wait for it to come a little bit lower. We'll be able to get an ID shot.
Yeah, so if Rian can just get a little bit closer to the side of the face, I will run it through the database and we can hopefully identify... Oh, that's a boy! Is that a big tail in the middle?
Yeah, it's a big tail.
Wow, I think we have our first male.
Oh, how lucky.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm really excited right now. So in between the back flippers, you can see a long fat tail, and that indicates straight away that this hawksbill is a male. So we're going to need Rian to get a good close-up of both sides of the face.
We'll just pull back, Rian. We'll just pull back, mate. Yeah, we just want him to be able to come down. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just running it through. I really don't think we have this one in the database.
Yeah. Cool. So he's just going up for a breath of air. And we'll just pull him back so he can come back down.
So are you able to estimate the length of the carapace, which is just another word for shell?
So I would probably say from the carapace almost a metre or 3 feet.
Oh wow, are you sure? Turtles don't tend to get much bigger than a metre.
Oh, sorry, I mean from nose to tail.
Oh, okay. So the length of the shell is probably maybe 70 centimetres?
Yeah, 70 or 80, but I promise you, it's the largest one I've seen on the reef.
Wow.
That is for sure. Now, I feel like he's looking down at a spot down here. So we might just wait for him to drop a minute.
Yep, so turtles are reptiles. They're reptiles of the ocean, and they do have lungs, so they need to come to the surface and breathe air. They don't have gills, and they cannot breathe underwater. So this individual, the snow, is just casually going up to the surface and taking some breaths. So it will come back down, and when it comes back down, we'll get Rianne to go in closer for a closer look.
Yeah.
So Richard is actually asking about the database. So it's a completely open and transparent platform that we've just started using the non-invasive technique of just taking a photograph to identify the scales on the side of the turtle's face. And we are going to share this with the government, the Department of Environment, and we're going to work very closely with Don Foster's Dive Centre on this. So we're hoping to open it as a nationwide project, and we're just at the very beginning stages of this, but it will be open and available to anybody.
Yeah, we want to share all the knowledge. I mean, we are scientists, so we want to make this knowledge accessible.
TSIX Gaming has said, is it Shark Biscuit? That is a great name for a turtle. We do have a shark bait, but I actually prefer Shark Biscuit. Love it.
That is a pretty good name. Now he does seem to be feeding up at the surface, so we'll come back up and see how we go with the interaction. But he seems very relaxed at the moment. I think he is chomping on his favourite snack.
Well, we have lots of questions. So Namaste is asking about tagging turtles. I don't believe there's any tagging program here. It is done in different places throughout the world using satellite tags, but it's not done here. All we do is take a simple photograph and we just manually match up the scales. It's non-invasive and we do not touch the turtle or interfere with the turtle at all during this.
Yeah, I have worked on some turtle tagging projects, and the data that you do get is quite amazing. But I do rather just getting a lovely shot and tracking the location through photographs.
So Child of the Universe is asking about people and turtle interaction and how they feel when we're nearby. And I can assure you I've been observing turtles for about 7 years now, and they are showing absolutely no adverse behaviour. They're normally quite comfortable around people, but they generally don't like to be touched. Their shell is actually part of their internal skeleton. It's not an exoskeleton. So it's like our rib cage, which was fused together, if you like. So when you touch a turtle, they can feel it. And you can imagine if there was a sea creature touching you, Simone, I don't think you would like it. So I don't believe they enjoy this kind of interaction, but they do not mind if we're swimming along with it.
Yeah, so you can see how relaxed he is right now. He's just looking around, crushing a little bit of coral here and there, but just absolutely cruising. Wow, and he's really the biggest one I've ever seen.
He is a male, so I'm sure he will be massive. I'm so happy we've got the first boy in our database.
Yeah, and he can actually curl his tail. He's just curled his tail under his shell, so it's quite agile. Oh, this is
taking a wee rest. And Richard again is asking about the database. Will divers be able to contribute? And absolutely. So once we get it up and running properly, anyone will be able to submit their photographs and we will be able to give them a positive ID and a little bit of information about the turtle. And we have a French angelfish joining that turtle. What a perfect pair.
Yeah, so he's really looking very relaxed, and he does, need a clean here and there. So Hopefully little cleaner fish will come and try and clean his carapace too, because he gets a little bit of algae growth.
So we have so many questions. I'll try and get through them all.
Yeah, no problem.
Ian's asking about turtles sleeping. So you can see this turtle here has got its front flippers tucked underneath, and that is the perfect resting position. A bit like Simone there. It's not sleeping. This turtle is just resting. So they are reptiles, which means they do get their energy from the sun. So it's probably had some food earlier, maybe that jellyfish, and it's just taken a rest. It's really comfortable, and we can see that by the position of the body. It's kind of checking us out.
Yeah, I think he knows we mean no harm, you know. He's
yeah.
just like, oh, hey, friends.
Of course, and they do rest at night, but they don't go into sleep like we do. They don't snore their head off like I do and almost unconscious, but they do rest at night, tend to rest in the shallow of the reef so that they can come up for air. Every so often they will have to surface, so they don't go into full sleeps like we do. And we do have questions about how deep do turtles go and how long do they hold their breath. So regarding the hawksbill, they generally tend to hold their breath on average for about 20 minutes. But this is just dependent on their condition. So if they're under threat, they can definitely hide and hold their breath for a lot longer. The green turtle can actually hold their breath for up to 5 hours.
Wow, 5 hours is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And these turtles have been seen to rest and almost sleep in sponges.
Yeah,
sponges. They're almost like a pillow.
It looks really comfortable. I would love to sleep there.
It does look very comfortable.
Oh, we're getting a great view of this male. And if you actually take a look at its back left flipper, you can see a really sharp claw hanging out there. And this is actually another sign that it's a male. They use these sharp claws to hook onto females during mating. So it's definitely a boy.
Definitely a big boy. Now maybe we'll have a look at its carapace or its shell and just really enjoy the detail.
Yeah. So David Arthur, which I believe could be my dad, so hi Dad, is asking about male and female differences. So the main difference would be that big long tail in between its back flippers, which is actually not visible right now, but it is there. And females will not have this. They won't have a big tail. They'll have a tiny little stump that normally doesn't extend past the shell. So it looks like they don't have a tail, and males have big long tails. But this will only develop once they become an adult and they become sexually mature. So when it's a juvenile, like our little friend Patch, we are not able to sex it. Thanks for the question.
Thanks, Lauren's dad. Now you can really see its feet, like features while he's staring at the camera at you, can't you? It's just like... quite proud, and that's where it gets its name, hawksbill, from.
Yeah, it does. And Rian just gave us a great look at the shell. The scales on the shell, which are called scutes, are actually overlapping. So in other species, they don't overlap. And this is another key feature of the hawksbill. Many people get greens and hawksbills confused, but they're actually very different. And just like Simone mentioned, the hawksbill has a very sharp, pointy beak. The green will have a completely flat beak.
Yeah, we get a few types of turtles here. We have the hawksbill that we get to see now. We also get the loggerhead. It's a very, very big, strong kind of head. And then we get the greens as well. So hopefully we'll get to show you all the different types and how different they do look from one another.
Yeah, so they get 7 different species in the world. There is some arguments that there could be an 8. Oh, hello there. We have a big grouper that's... Oh,
he's kicked him out. Get out of their way.
So we just saw a big grouper come along, and I don't think the turtle was too happy to see him.
How curious. You're not very nice, Mr. Grouper, kicking him out of his sleeping position or his resting position. I think this is your rightful place, sir.
Virginia's asking a really good question about the turtle shell and what's it made out of. The main component is actually keratin, which is in our nails, our fingernails, and our hair. So it's incredibly strong. And an important fact about the hawksbill is because the shell is incredibly beautiful, when it is taken out of water and it's polished up, it is used to make jewellery. And that jewellery is in fact called tortoise shell. It's a really beautiful form of jewellery, but unfortunately it comes directly from the sea turtle. Many people aren't aware of that, and it is one of the contributors to the sea turtle decline.
Wow, this guy is just...
It's so cute. I think I'm in love.
And I hope you can see his face. He's got actually kind of two nostrils on top of his beak-like mouth. It's so easy seeing them underwater to forget that they are, you know, they do originate from land mammals. Oh, sorry, land reptiles.
Yeah, and they have an incredible sense of smell. They've got incredible eyesight as well, even underwater and on land. So they have amazing senses. I don't think turtles are given enough credit. But both Child of the Universe and Proud Cat Mama are asking about sea turtle threats.
Oh, I mean, especially on World Oceans Day, it's pretty important to discuss the threats. We saw him chomping on some delicious, tasty jellyfish. Now imagine a plastic bag in the ocean looking exactly like a jellyfish.
Yeah, it's great to talk about this on World Ocean Day. There's many sort of photos and videos of turtles chomping away on a plastic bag because they have misidentified it as a jellyfish. But there's so many threats to turtles, and they are mainly from humans, including coastal development, as they do lay their eggs on the beach. If the beaches are removed, they don't have anywhere to lay their eggs. Ghost nets are a huge problem in the Indian Ocean, and these are big discarded nets that are no longer used by fishermen, so they just throw them overboard, and the turtles will come to investigate and get completely entangled in the nets.
Yeah, and this island was originally called Las Tortugas, so the island of turtle, and unfortunately there was just targeted fisheries for these animals, so a lot of them, you know, lost their lives, and huge population declines occurred because of this targeted fishing.
Yeah, that's true. And we are looking at a hawksbill, but the Cayman Islands used to be filled with green turtles. And they're called green turtles. Someone asked us earlier. They're not actually green, but they do have a really thick layer of fat, which is bright green in colour, called callipee, which is right underneath the shell. And that's where the name comes from. But unfortunately, green turtles are very rare here now, as they were poached for their meat and the fat. So now we're getting a great view of that tail, everyone. Now, Proud Cat Mama is asking which is the largest of all sea turtles, and that would be the leatherback turtle, which I have never seen, but it is a dream of mine to swim with one.
I would love to as well. I know Rihanna, our cameraman, has swum with a leatherback in Mozambique. I'm very, very jealous. That is the dream.
So jealous.
And you can see he's just crashing into the corals. It's almost like slow motion.
We have a tricky question from Alao. Thanks, Alao. I'll pass it to you, Simone.
Oh, yeah.
How heavy do you think this turtle would be?
Honestly, like I said, biggest one I've ever seen. Gosh, probably about maybe 200 kilos. If you think how heavy that carapace is, that shell would be exceptionally heavy. Yes. I would say 200 kilos. I don't know what that is in pounds, about maybe 450 pounds.
I do believe Alao has rescued a hawksbill before and did have to carry it to the boat, so I think he knows that they're incredibly heavy animals. So yeah, they're not as light as they look, and look at that turtle just resting in the Gorgonian.
I know, he looks a little bit awkward, to be honest. It's quite funny.
It does have a really funny expression on its face. I think it's enjoying just looking at itself in the reflection of the camera.
So funny. It's like, you know, when you go home and you just flop yourself out on the couch. I think that's what he thinks he's doing. Oh.
So I have actually rescued well over 15 olive ridley turtles from ghost nets and a hawksbill as well. There was a little hawksbill called Ali that had a huge fishing hook in its neck, and we did manage to rescue this animal. So they do need our help. 6 out of 7 of the sea turtles are listed as either vulnerable, endangered, or critically endangered. So they do need conservation efforts and support in order for the numbers to increase again.
Yeah, there are so many amazing efforts around the world to help save these animals. I mean, I think, yeah, all species of turtles are critically endangered or even on the brink of extinction, especially the leatherback. So anything we can do to help them is absolutely worth it.
And Sinak is saying turtle is now his new favourite animal. Well, I'm glad, because they are definitely mine.
Yeah, I think we can see why. They're such personable creatures as well. They look a little bit wise.
So Royce is asking, how common is it to see turtles here in Grand Cayman? And it is common. Unfortunately, we have only seen the hawksbill species so far, but there are greens and there are loggerheads that we do hope to show you soon. So they are around. They tend to be quite territorial to their home reef, so they do tend to stay in the same areas. But the most interesting thing is this is a male, and we don't generally tend to find males on the reef. And normally they're a bit skittish. They're not as easy to approach as the females. So maybe this male will be looking for a mate soon.
Now, Rian, to hold your position, I'm going to check your air for you because I am a good dive buddy.
Richard is also asking about your air, so he is also a great dive buddy.
Thanks, Richard. So Rian has loads of air. He's an amazing diver. And I'll return back to my position. And I have about 80 bar, which is the same as Rian at the moment.
I think we're just going to stay on the sea turtle because everybody's loving it. We've got loads of questions.
Yeah, definitely. Keep them coming. This is an amazing sighting. This is the best turtle sighting I've ever had, so I'm very, very happy to stay down here as long as possible.
Well, Betty was actually asking about my rescue and do the animals seem to understand that we're helping, and that's quite an impossible question. Of course we're helping and we'll do everything we can, but whether the animals understand, we don't know. We did remove that large fishing hook and luckily it didn't do any damage to the esophagus. But when we put Ali back in the water, she was off like a shot. It's the fastest I've ever seen a turtle swim. They do look really slow and cumbersome, but they can swim fast when they want to. And we never saw her again, so she probably left that area because she thinks it's too dangerous. So who knows if they know we're helping?
I mean, yeah, it is impossible to know what an animal is thinking, but there have been so many rescues throughout the world where animals do kind of approach humans in a sense of, I know this thing can help me. So whether they think we're just really strangely large bleeding fish, who really knows?
Yeah.
But I think they can associate us with help.
And Virginia's asking about the turtle eyes. They work very similar to ours. They do have eyelids and they work really well in the water. They're a little bit short-sighted on land, but very, very, very small, so they're able to see well on land, which is really important when they're coming on land to lay their eggs.
Now, it looks like he did a little bit of a burp then. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, he's kind of been doing these burpy motions.
Yeah, he's just digesting the food, I think. Maybe ate one too many jellyfish.
I think we've all been there.
Yes, but not jellyfish, it's Oreos. Is that right, Simone?
Oh, how did you know? I know. Don't shame me in my addiction.
Child of the Universe is asking, are large sharks the only natural predator of turtles? And yep, sharks and orcas in different areas of the world are the only natural predators. And that's, of course, not counting us. So we do see sharks regularly with big shark bites, or some of them are missing flippers.
Yeah, but they can recover. I've seen a flatback turtle with pretty much a flipper and a huge chunk out of its shell. It looked like it could have lost its reproductive organs, but it was still swimming on. You know, they can really survive so much.
They are survivors. They've been around for almost 110 million years. And just to put that into context for everyone, dinosaurs went extinct about 65 million years ago. So these are very ancient prehistoric animals that have survived right until now.
That's insane. And I think you were telling me, Lauren, that they came from little turtles in salt marshes, was it?
Yes, freshwater turtles and salt marshes. That's actually where they evolved from many, many, many years ago. And I think the oldest fossil record dates back to 150 million years ago. So that's just incredible. And unfortunately, they are now suffering lots of different threats.
Oh, wow. How sad is this? You know, we talk about plastic and whatnot, and there's actually a piece of plastic right here with a long line right next to the turtle. So that's quite unfortunate, but like I say, it is International, World Oceans Days, so this is what we need to highlight.
Well, Kate is actually asking, what is the turtle survival rate from hatchling to adult? And that's an amazing question because it's one of the lowest survival rates in the animal kingdom. From a hatchling to an adult, it is estimated that only 1 or 2 out of 1,000 will survive and make it to adulthood. That is a really, really, really low survival rate. And they do lay a lot of eggs. Normally, a turtle can lay between 4 to 5 clutches. And each clutch will contain approximately, on average, around 100 little ping pong ball sized eggs. So they do compensate for the fact that it's such a low survival rate.
Yeah, these little things have to struggle. I've been at beaches where, seagulls are lining up, and at the base of the start of the water there are stingrays lining up to eat the little hatchlings. The hatchlings have about every enemy in the ocean. Everything would love some tasty little turtles. So they're quite lucky that when they do get to this size, all they need to worry about is large sharks. Because in the beginning, they didn't have many friends on the reefs.
Yeah. They can reach speeds up 22 miles per hour, so they can use short bursts of energy to escape, and that can help them escape these big predators at times as well. But we have some interesting questions coming in before we run out of air here.
Yeah, I'll have to do a safety stop in about a minute, so hit me.
Okay, so 2 good questions. One from Virginia asking about at what age can you ID the turtle? And normally when it comes back to the reefs after the lost years, between about maybe 5 years of age, we can start to positively identify the turtle using the scales, as these scales don't change over time. They are different on the left side and the right side though, so it's worth noting that. And lastly, before we wrap up, Wild Africa is asking, have you been bitten by a turtle? And actually, Proud Cat Mama is asking, are turtles gentle? So they're kind of similar questions. They are incredibly gentle. You can see here from this, Hawksbill 007, we definitely have to call this one James Bond.
Oh, it's 007, yes, we must.
You can see it's incredibly gentle. It's just enjoying resting. It's more than happy that we are here. And have I ever been bitten? Well, when we did rescue that Hawksbill Ali, she was very stressed, of course, because she'd been hooked by a fishing hook, and she was using her sharp beak to try and tell us to stay away. But she didn't quite bite me. They're not generally aggressive animals.
I mean, this guy's too cool of a cucumber to want to be aggressive. They are exceptionally gentle animals, that is for sure. Now, guys, we're going to have to leave 007.
Oh, goodbye, James Bond. We hope to see you again.
We do hope to see him again. I mean, that was an amazing encounter with a very large, majestic, and prehistoric animal. So I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. This is really wonderful. Happy World Oceans Days, and do join us again today at 11 a.m. Grand Cayman time. Maybe Lauren will get lucky and see 008.
I hope so.